I am CouchCube, and I review offline single-player games and local split-screen PS4, PS5 and Game Pass releases. We got treated to some extended gameplay at the State of Play Sony show a couple of days ago, and it's quite an interesting reel. You've got the developers talking over it. Check out that wingsuit.
を使って屋根の上に登ったり、装置アビキルを使って高所から滑空し上空を移動することも可能です。
I'm a big fan of KT and the Ninja team, and I have been involved in quite a few of their previous games. I also just love the third-person samurai slasher. This looks totally like we've got that injection of Ghost of Tsushima with the open world system, but we've still got that focus, Souls-like gameplay.
戦いを有利に進めることができます。
Talking of epic Souls-likes or Souls games or From Software games, Sekiro is still in my calendar. It's one of those games I just do not want to let go of. It is such a adrenaline rush compared to, the laid-back Elden Ring, story-driven open world system. This is such a white-knuckle ride. It really is an incredible game still. KT, for me, seem to be one of the few developers that can get close to that From Software magic, particularly with their sword, ninja and samurai games. Wulong, although stepping in some quite solid footsteps that the Nioh series had created, didn't really do it for the crowds. I kind of loved it, and it was Game Pass day one, which was a huge bonus, but this game looks to have some similarities with Rise of Rōnin.
良くない遠隔武器です。トリギ砲や和洋折衷のアクションである銃剣など西洋の技術を生かした武器をうまく活用すれば標的にも打ち勝つことができるのでぜひマスターしてください。
It seems to be what looks like massive reward for a large counter, and the Wulong system sort of revolves around the whole counter setup as opposed to smashing down the stamina meter and opening up a position from there on in, which Nioh 2 and 1 kind of take advantage of. So we could have the best of both worlds with this Rise of Rōnin. I wanted to have that chat about Nioh 2 because against Sekiro and also Wulong, it's kind of still a very strong game, and I think it's probably KT's strongest. Those two games together, which are available now, and this has a PlayStation SSD version, are so worth looking at if you haven't stepped into this genre at all. I did want to mention Ghost of Tsushima and the fact that Rise of Rōnin looks to be definitely having a horse-backed traversal mechanic, which will be the first major step, I think, for that team going in that direction. Wulong did feature quite a lot of getting around and quite a large map with optional directions, but it was nothing on what Ghost has to offer. Interestingly enough, Ghost is looking to be putting out its sequel also, I think, for 2024, or maybe it will tip into 25. But this Rise of Rōnin is still pinned for March 22nd of this year. As you heard me mention earlier, there is a solid difference with the bedrock combat model in these two games, be it anything that KT has done, and that comes in the form of the focus button, which really does make it feel like a Souls-like. I feel that Ghost is kind of its own thing, and I put a big sucker punch tribute talking about Second Son and including some quite risque shots from the 2011 mediocre film. I am seeing a bit of help on the AI companion front, and Wulong sort of overcooked that a little bit for me. He always had like two people jumping around on screen that weren't always technically helping and would go down and would just cause unnecessary worry. I understand the angle, and I think again Wulong pushed on it a bit too hard. This seems to be a bit more streamlined, and it certainly seems to be a very much concentrated single player experience so far anyway.
For anyone embracing its bitter end.
Did also want to mention Wild Hearts and how it's not terrible, and as a huge Monster Hunter fan I wasn't too offended with the game, and it is totally again, worth peeking at on Game Pass. It's not going to be supported going forward, which is a bit of a heartbreaker because they tried really hard to sort of equal what Capcom did there, and it wasn't at all bad, but I've put it on because of the traversal mechanic. I think we're going to see some of this helicopter stuff going on, even in the combat and probably the boss fights. I don't know how independent that glider's going to be or whether you can upgrade it, but it's certainly a cool idea of being able to Breath of the Wild around that map.
Without remorse.
Combustibles, period piece muskets, guns in general seem to be definitely kept in and totally a thing. Not only cool bow and arrows, but a step up with blunderbusses. I saw like a flamethrower in it, so it's very cool to have that angle on a Souls-like. And Nioh have always looked after us really well with projectile weaponry.
Mountains must you move to alter the river below.
This is a slightly older trailer, captured at 1080 and 60 frames, and just nipping back to Our Heavenly Father quickly. I think some of these textures and sort of graphical look are down to it all being in engine and it being a very large open world game. I think that Sekiro is probably a bit railsy on design compared to what we're seeing in Rise of Rōnin, but I just would have loved to have seen those graphics crisped up a little bit. We certainly did in that newer State of Play footage.
As the smoke rises, so shall we.
Choose the sword, and you will join me.
I'm very much looking forward to the 22nd of March. KT will not screw any of this up, and it's going to be pretty damned amazing and full offline single player content guaranteed. I have been Couch Coop. I will of course see you down there.
Rumor is, a village will sacrifice their partner for duty. So which of you will do the deed?